Welcome back to You Rolled a 1. This is episode 2, Scouting Vardent Hollow. Before we recap last episode, let me remind you who our heroes are. We have Manx, a traveling preacher of sorts with a deep connection to Mara, the goddess of the seas. We have Nictor, a dwarven monk who dreams of becoming an obsidian monk. We have Axel, the stonemason, whose family has laid bricks for generations. Sly Grimehook, a hunter of exotic animals throughout the forests surrounding Seafall. And of course, Demeclees, the future whisperer. Although from a noble house, he refuses to tell anybody which noble house that might be. Demeclees claims he can see the future, though nobody knows if that's true or just a bundle of lies. Last episode, our heroes formed a scouting party at the request of Cedric, the Tamir of Seafall and head of the noble house of Stormrider. Under the leadership of Demeclees, the future whisperer, and the guidance of Sly Grimehook, the party set out for Vardent Hollow, a mythical fortress that has not been seen in more than 100 years, that Sly happened to have uncovered as he followed the warband of goblins finishing their raid on the town of Seafall. While traveling the Crimson Pine Road, our party discovered an ambush. Our party sprung their own trap on the would-be ambushers, trapping the goblins and their hobgoblin commander Ratbag into a pit that they had dug. After some interrogations, the party notices the heraldry of House Ravenshield, which is a black crow on a yellow background, upon the hobgoblin leader Ratbag's cloak. Deciding the goblins have no further use, the party left the goblins to figure their own way out of the hole and continued down the road to stop at Amberstone Abbey, where they met Friar Gunder and returned the body of Lila Summerfield. That's the last we heard from our heroes. Let's see where they are now. With the whistling of Friar Gunder fading away, Nictor guides the party through the halls of Amberstone Abbey. It's extremely well built, with large blocks of stone, clear dwarven craftsmanship, and some of the large blocks even have dwarven runes etched into their faces. After a few minutes, the narrow halls open up into a much larger room, where a number of well-made, rune-etched wooden tables fill the dining room, and a number of monks enjoy a late breakfast. Almost instinctively, the whole party decides to sit at one of the closest tables, admiring the craftsmanship. Without warning, one of the monks, dressed in a rough-hewn cloak, delivers bread, honey, figs, and other fruits to the table. The monk bows low and then backs away, attending to other duties and leaving the characters to tie into the food. After a few moments, Friar Gunder enters the room and, spotting the players, shuffles over to their table.
Now, Nictor, while you eat, tell me, what happened to Lila? What happened at Seafall? What's going on?
There's a raid at the market today, and several people were killed. Lila was unfortunately one of them. Goblins and orcs have stormed the market, and while doing my due diligence to bring the body of Lila back, we're on our way to figure out if we can squash this quarrel.
What do you mean, squash this quarrel, Nictor? What is your assignment, and who gave you such an assignment?
The Tamir of the village has rounded up a few of members here, and we're off to see if we can solve this goblin problem.
Let me understand this. The Tamir of Seafall has sent you 5 warriors.
He looks at Manx and then at you.
Sent you rabble to deal with enough goblins that it could raid an entire village? Am I understanding that correctly?
They only took the most valuable item in all of Seafall.
They stole the crown?
They stole the crown. It seemed a day like any other, and goblins seemed to erupt out of the earth itself, and unfortunately many were killed. But we have this fine fellow with us, Mudskipper, and he apparently knows where they live or came from, so we're gonna follow him.
Mudskipper, how many goblins were there?
A couple hundred goblins in the encampment and more that raided the village.
So how are you, fine gentlemen, going to deal with hundreds of goblins? Nictor, do you have some magical powers I'm unaware of? Are one of you capable of defeating hundreds of goblins?
Well, so far this is just a scouting mission.
Ah, so the Tamir just wants you to find
The goblins.
It's a reconnaissance mission to start. He may ask us and maybe ask the Abbey to assist in taking them out. This is just the start of... It just happened this morning. It's all happening so fast.
Well, far be it from me to decide if you can carry out the Tamir's wishes. I will leave you each to your lunch. Stay as long as you would like. I'm not sure the urgency of the Tamir's wishes.
No chance. Let's get a move on.
We are very hungry and tired.
Friar Gunder looks quizzically at Manx, and then quizzically at Sly Grimehook, and then raises an eyebrow to Nictor questioningly.
Gentlemen, sit down for a quick bite, and then we will move on.
Friar Gunner taps his finger on the table, lost in thought.
Well, gentlemen, I actually believe I might have something of assistance for you. Please, allow me to excuse myself and see if I can put my hands on such a thing.
And with that, he stands and kind of shuffles away in his stooped walk. The food that was placed before you is absolutely delicious. The honey is just to die for. All the fruit is incredibly perfectly ripe. The scones and rolls are clearly fresh baked, and you all feel reinvigorated after only a few bites. After about 15 minutes of cramming as much food as you possibly can into your mouths, Friar Gunner shuffles back to the table, now holding a large leather-bound book, and places it gently in front of him on the table.
Nictor, you're familiar with my book. Care to explain to the other gentlemen here at the table?
Yes, the pages fill as we explore. It's, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest geography textbook I've ever had my hands on. As we travel amongst the land, folks, Friar Gunner's Guide to Givener, this book will autofill with fun details about the land and from around wherever we've traveled.
That's right, Nictor. I build these books for travelers of throughout the continent. Also interesting people that you meet, or maybe even historical events if you are lucky enough to be part of them, will automatically update and give you information about what you've accomplished. Please, Nictor, you take this book and keep it safe.
Friar, this is excellent. Thank you. I look forward to filling its pages as I travel.
Are you feeling more or less refreshed, gentlemen?
More or less. I still feel a little tired, we'll say. Maybe not up to my usual chipperness, but if the party wishes to continue, we can continue.
Grimehook, you are leading the expedition, it would seem. Do you know where you're going?
No chance. Nope, absolutely not.
You're literally the reason that we're going on this adventure and nowhere to go.
Nictor, I can see that there's going to be some struggles in completing the Tamir's wishes.
I see hardships in our future.
We're lost already.
Well, I guess now you're found. Well, I'll assume you know best, Nictor. The real question is whether you'd like to push on now during the day, or rest and push on during the night, and have a better chance of surprise. It's really up to you, Grimehook, since you're the one who's discovered this area.
Okay, let's take the afternoon to rest up, and we will continue in the evening. It's not far from here.
As you wish, gentlemen. You're welcome as long as you'd like. Nictor, when you've finished your food, show them to the different rooms for them to relax. They can prepare for their journey when they're good and ready. Enjoy your stay at Amberstone Abbey, gentlemen.
Nictor, you get to pick up any personal trinkets or belongings from your actual room. Everyone else is shown to some guest rooms. They're not super well decorated. They're kind of Spartan with a nice comfortable bed, a desk, a chair, all stone walls, and kind of a skylight to them. But other than that, there's really nothing else interesting in the room, so you can take a rest. Around 6, 7 o'clock, the sun is still up, but it's going down, and Friar Gunnar comes and knocks on the door. Nictor, you are separated from the group at this point, and you can join them in a minute.
Travelers, I suspect you're going to want to start to go now.
Yes, that sounds great. We'll just get our belongings and meet up with the rest of the crew.
He has you follow him down to the door where you started, and you entered the abbey. Nictor is waiting for you there. So as you step out of the heavy oak doors, Friar Gunnar waves to you and hands Manx a small bag of provisions. So inside are a couple of vials of honey, probably a dozen crumpets for dinner.
Enjoy the victuals, Manx. It was a pleasure to have you here at our abbey, and remember, if anyone gets wounded on the travels, the honey will work as an excellent healing salve.
Thank you, Friar. I feel as though we've been lucky so far, but this is feeling like a really good thing to have with us. Blessings with you.
I high-five him and slap his ass.
Oh! Good Lord, Grimehook. The indecency. I haven't been handled like that in more than 10 years.
That's why they call him Grimehook.
You might want to wash yourself. Take a bath.
Why, yes, indeed. Well, with that, gentlemen, I'm going to take my leave of the whole situation.
And Friar Gunnar darts back into the abbey without a glance over his shoulder.
Wait for me! Wait! Wait! Ha! Wait for me! I overslept. You left without me. I cannot believe that. I do apologize, though. I had a vision. I was called by the clouds and the stars last night. I'm still making sense of it. We are late upon our travels. Catch me up on what I missed this morning, and I will try to sort through my visions so that I may find clarity in the future.
We're kind of following Sly at this point. So you've taken a side road to the Abbey. Sly, you know it's about a 15-minute walk down to the main road, so Pine Crimson Road, and then probably about 2 hours further along in order to get to the Waystone that you remember for Vardent Hollow before.
Seems good to me. I would like to be traveling in the middle of the group.
Just as you're walking, the sun is setting. It is beautiful. You can hear birds chirping and crickets, and it's really just a nice afternoon walk at this point.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give out the healing honeys. I'm gonna give one to Nictor, I'm gonna give one to Axel, and I'm gonna give one to Sly. Okay, I'll just gather us all around, and I say, we've been gathered on an important mission that might be dangerous. I'm going to distribute these to those of us who might be bigger and stronger and be in harm's way more than others. So these vials of honey should help heal any physical ailments that you sustain if we do run into any trouble or fighting. So, Nictor, you seem like a pretty burly guy trying to get into the thick of things. I'll give this one to you.
Healing honey, thank you.
Axel, we already know how much you like to become impaled, so here's one for you.
Oh, thanks, yeah. It's not so much I love it, it's just tends to happen.
Tends to happen. Well, if it happens again, drink this. And Sly, I saw the way you tried to bull rush that hobgoblin, so you should have this just in case.
Well, thank you.
And Demeclees, I think it's up to you and I to stay out of their way.
So we're following Sly down the Crimson Pine path. As we approach around a bend, you can see a large waystone. Many or most of you have actually seen this waystone before. It's very common. It kind of marks the border to the end of the domain of Seafall. It's crumbling. It's extremely old. No one really knows who put it here. As you approach, it is 2 stories high, crumbling. Looks like an old tower. Nictor and Axel, can you make investigation?
I don't know anything. I rolled a 4.
Yeah, and I got a 5 plus whatever.
And I rolled a 14 on the history roll. I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but...
You're unsure if this is accurate. It looks like elvish stonework. just because of the size and the way that the blocks are placed. It's the only thing that makes sense in your head, but you certainly wouldn't be willing to risk your brother's life over that as a trivia answer.
I would just confer that to Nictor as he's standing there inspecting it with me, I would assume.
Those tree huggers, you think they built this?
Yeah, that's my guess. They live a long time, and the bricks are small. They got smaller hands.
Well, you might be right. It's from the old kingdom, isn't it? Where are we going, Grimehook?
Now that we have done admiring the stonework of 1,000 generations before, let's get to the matter at hand and get down to Vardent Hollow. Yes, come this way. We go around the stone, and it will feel as if you're going into another world. There's some sort of force field with a hole in it that we can get through. Don't worry, it feels odd, but it won't do you any harm. And I lead them around the stone.
So all of you, can you make a perception check?
Not one. So no, I got a 9.
Okay, an 11.
I got 19.
Unnatural 20.
12.
Nictor and Manx, you guys notice that about 150 feet ahead of you in the gloom of the forest, it almost looks like there's a shimmering or a shadow. Almost as though you're looking at, when a straw goes through a glass of water and it bends the light. It looks like the trees and the sticks and stuff don't quite line up together if you look far enough into the distance. And Sly is marching confidently towards that refraction point.
So I'd like to just point it out to everybody and say, look, Grimehook, is that?
Yes, it is. Come this way.
I'd like to be cautious as I do it, but I do it, I go.
And as those guys are walking forward, I'm kind of just going to take some big strides and kind of push my way to the front. I'm going to actually kind of brush aggressively against Sly as to almost imply that the little ones need to get behind the big ones. Ugh, yep, let me get to the front here.
As you each pass through this shimmering veil, the fortress immediately looms large above you. The first thing that you can see is a large curtain wall, and it seems like there's some type of obscurity beyond, but it stretches out both to your left and to your right, more or less as far as you can see. It's in poor repair. There are stones missing from the wall, and the forest has grown pretty close, but you probably have 100 to 150 feet between the edge of the actual forest and the curtain wall itself. The wall is 25 feet high. You can see every maybe 100 steps or so, there's a 2-story or a 3-story tower. Some of the towers have collapsed, but they all would have been 3-story stone towers standing above the wall, so about 40 feet at its peak. You can also hear immediately overwhelming noises from the goblins, and you can smell smoke from cooking fires on the other side of the wall. You can't see anything from the other side, but you can hear in front of this gate. It is one single solitary goblin with a loose-fitting helmet and a small spear and shield standing in the very front, guarding what looks like a not quite closed, damaged gate.
Has he seen us yet or no?
No, all of you are hidden in the gloom. He's just standing there. You guys are still in the woods by 50, 60 feet before it breaks for the wall, and then he would be 50 feet beyond that. But you can all see pretty decently in the gloom, and the moon is out. So it would be 9, 10 p.m. at this point, and he's just standing guard.
I'm whispering to everybody, I've been here before. We have to get in the gate, and that is where the encampment is, and we can try and get up onto the wall and see in, but we have to deal with this goblin first.
Is the only way forward straightforward, or can we go to the side and get around him to another part of the fortress?
So he's standing in front of the gate, but you could stay in the woods and basically follow the wall, and there might be another gate. You don't necessarily know. At this point, all you can see in front of you is a gate and the wall that stretches to both sides out of your sight.
Does it have one of these big, tall, hypothetically 3-story towers on top of it, or is it like a separate gate structure?
It's like an H. There's actually 2 towers on top of the gate, except one of them is crumbled. So one is 3 stories and the other one looks like it's caved in and is only maybe 10 feet on top of the wall, so it's only 2.
Okay, but this looks different than the other guard posts.
Yeah, the other ones look like just single towers.
Okay, so I'm thinking we should probably try to scale the wall somewhere else and, like, get one or two of us who are sneaky and have them try to climb up over the wall.
Perhaps I should send Moonshadow to see if anything upon the wall or on the other side might cause us trouble.
I like the way you think.
That's way better than what I said.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Demeclees.
Well, I will send Moonshadow. I'll reach into my pocket and take a little tiny piece of dried meat that I keep and feed it to him, and then quickly you see me lay back and my eyes go white, and I close them, and then I sail off in Moonshadow's eyes.
As Moonshadow takes off and sails over the curtain wall, you can see the full scale of the fortress spread out in front of you. It is pretty monolithic for something that would appear to be hidden. It's actually, the first thought is, how is this hidden here in the forest? So probably 300-400 yards between the curtain wall, which is where you're standing, lies the actual center forest. And in between that looks like a absolute sea of cooking fires. Even just looking at them briefly, you count well over 100. You can see goblins chittering back and forth, just absolutely tons of movement, almost like an ant colony if it was to be disturbed.
Could I do a perception check with advantage? It is an owl in its element right now, so I'm glad I have advantage because I rolled a 1, and now my second one is a 17 plus 3 would be a dirty 20.
What he's going to pick up is the inner keep looks like there are not goblins in it. The inner keep actually has its gates barred, and there are something different. You know, the owl doesn't know what it is, but there is something different dressed in yellow carrying large pikes as guards in front of that gatehouse. All of the goblins seem to be between the curtain wall and the actual keep itself. It appears entirely deserted, other than the 2 yellow pikes guarding the gate, which immediately strikes you as odd because there are so many goblins camped in between that it'd be very weird why they wouldn't be in the keep, but it seems entirely deserted, almost like they're scared of going into it.
I'll bring Moonshadow back and rise from my warging, I guess, and look at everybody and say, I believe there is a keep in the very center that no goblins are around or allowed to go in, perhaps out of fear. Now that, to me, if I had an army of untrustworthy goblins, I'd keep my prizes there and scare them to no end from going in. My guess is that the biggest and worst thing that they have might be there, but perhaps so is our prize.
How many goblins are there, Demeclees?
Oh, well over 100. Did we see any water source or a well?
You can't recall, but you could warg in as well and actually look specifically for a well.
I'm only thinking, it would be bad to poison the whole water supply for the area, or perhaps we can create a distraction outside that draws away the goblins, so that we may stealth our way through. Any other ideas?
Can I do a nature check to see if I know of any poisonous plants that might make a concoction for that?
You absolutely can.
Okay, so to remind ourselves, this is a reconnaissance mission.
Yeah, hard agree on that. I'm quivering in my boots outside of camp here. I'm just like, I think we reconned lots.
Okay, nature check. Checking the nature. 16.
You can find not even 10 steps from where you are a small bush of nightshade.
Okay, and I'm assuming that I know enough as to how much you would need to actually make that a thing.
To poison a well, you would need a lot of nightshade, and it would have to be effectively prepared. You can't just throw the leaves in. You actually have, it's ingested, right, as poison. So you can't just throw the leaves down the well. You would have to grind them up somehow. But yeah, you could spend half an hour picking all the leaves if you needed to.
It's not uncommon for there to be barrels of water for convenience. Hauling a bucket up every single time you want to drink. Maybe that's what goblins do, but I don't think I would. I would hazard a guess they might have barrels around, already full, that we might be able to poison. It does seem like a long plan, though, making everybody wait to drink the nightshade, and when one goblin dies or gets sick, the rest will not. So we really need something maybe to distract them, perhaps.
I'd like to bring up two things of note. This structure we're looking at, are we under the impression that it's made like that other spire we passed before going through the Vale?
Good freaking question.
That's a fantastic question, Nictor. The answer is yes. The stonework does look the same. You can only see the curtain wall, and in order to be really sure, you'd have to be able to touch it and get close to it. So from where you are, it's probably 200-ish feet away, but it does look like it's the same stonework.
Okay, so built by something from the Old Kingdom, which is what I've been referring it to. And on top of that, apparently these guards were clothed in yellow. Considering that we've come across a hobgoblin pretending, or at least dressing up like a member of Ravenshield House, I'm under the impression that either these people or these goblins are imitating Ravenshield members, or Ravenshield has taken up hobgoblins for slave labor or sweatshop maneuvers. So just bringing that to everyone's attention.
Yeah. A fairly stealthy fellow, are you not? Maybe we sneak around and have him get up the wall so we can have a point of contact up there?
I've been known to sneak around. Okay, if we have one guard at one gate that has two towers, can we see up any of these other towers? Who do we know who's on duty?
Even from where you're standing in the forest, you don't see any fires or anything in any of the towers to the left or to the right. From the best of your knowledge, it's just one lonely, sad-looking goblin, and the gate isn't even closed.
This seems like too easy of a trap.
They are pretty stupid. I vote we shoot it. Let's just shoot them.
Yeah, give him the old grime hook.
If it's stupid, perhaps we can just make a noise, and he'll come out, and you just stab him from behind a tree. You do that sort of thing, don't you, Nick Grimehook?
Also, and hear me out, guys, is we have a decent head count on the goblins inside, right? We know it's over 100.
You'd have to warg to try and do a better count. It looks like there's at least 100 cooking fires.
Oh.
So there's probably more like 300 to 400 plus goblins, but you'd have to spend a good chunk of time trying to figure out how many of those are combatants versus non-combatants.
Those were cooking fires. Perhaps we can poison the food.
Okay, so what if we spend like a solid hour of our time trying to figure out a more precise number on the actual goblins, and then while we're doing that, the rest of us can be picking nightshade leaves and processing them.
And any poisoning we do, it's not going to take effect until, like, the next day. So this would be future planning?
My fear is that they're eating right now.
Well, they'll probably eat later, and then again after that for the rest of their lives. We were asked to do reconnaissance. So I think the best job that we can do is analyze weak points in the structure, get an exact head count on the number of goblins, maybe try to find a weak point in this inner keep that looks suspiciously devoid of life but is somehow heavily guarded, and maybe at the end we drop a boatload of processed nightshade into the well and we can dip out and nobody even has to know that we were here, because it would make a lot more sense for a coordinated army to come in after, and that's something that I think we can do more realistically. If we tell the Tamir of Seafall that we need an army to go here for this reason, that we're going to have much better effect. If we try to pull off too much stuff right here and now, there's hundreds of goblins in there more likely than not. And even the nightshade idea is just because I don't like them here, but it might make a lot more sense to really dial in on the reconnaissance, the weak points in the structure, and then just leave.
Yeah, let's do that.
Are we not also supposed to locate the crown?
I mean, if we find it, that's great.
Not yet.
No. Well, surely if we do tell House Ravenshield, I believe Duncan Ravenshield would be quite upset to see hobgoblins wearing his halbertier's uniform. he might himself bring his own army in and deal with this sort of situation. And if I know him, which I do a little bit, quite well, I have foretold that there may be a yellow wave. This was in my vision. I wasn't sure which side it would be on, but I believe if he knew that they were impersonating his halberdiers, he would be quite upset and wish to reclaim their honor.
At least publicly he might.
As far as anyone knows, we are the first to find this place.
I would almost keep this information from the head of House Ravenshield. You say you know him well?
Well as anyone can say they know a king, by his reputation.
It makes me nervous to think that these might not be imitators so much as new paid servants that would be a secret weapon against the houses that he would rather have under his rule.
You are mistrustful of the noble class, but Duncan Ravenshield by reputation is a man of great prestige and noble lineage. It is doubtful he would be in line with hobgoblins, but stranger things have happened.
Perhaps.
I'm going to start gathering the nightshade, and then if we decide to use it, we can. And if not, then I just have poison for later.
I mean, that's pretty great. So are we more or less agreed? Take very careful reconnaissance of weak points in the structure and try to get numbers?
Agreed.
Yep.
Demeclees, couldn't Moonshadow drop said poison for us into the well?
Well, yes, carefully. Whether we want to poison an entire well system for the area is questionable, but what I was thinking is, since it is dinner time and they have all these fires, maybe afterwards we can poison the food that they're eating, and that might cause quite a stir as everyone seems to eat at the same time here. And I agree, if we wait to see what their rounds are and their guard changes and etc., etc. Right now it seems like a vulnerable time while they're all eating, but when they get back on shift, if you will, we might learn more about their duties and intentions here.
Or if they're all eating, does anyone have any good enough illusion magic to have the fires explode and create a fire demon? Scare everyone? I don't know.
At level 1, absolutely not.
I could make a slight spark appear from around 30 feet away. Perhaps in the future, I'll study some illusion to do such a thing.
So, in my inventory, I have a scroll case, an ink pen with ink, and some sheets of paper. So I would like to bring that out, and then in conjunction with Demeclees, I would like to use his warging and my power of observation to take notes on one column about numbers of goblins, numbers of seemingly like combatants, and also I would like to draw as detailed a map as I can of the entire structure, labeling gate-houses, labeling any points that we see that might be crumbling or weak, any strong points, and how they're defended.
This is a fantastic plan. Demeclees, we're going to kind of speed this up, talk to Manx, and get this. So, your Cole's notes is, it looks like there's about 50% non-combatants to combatants, so about half of them. It does look like this isn't just a outpost. It looks like there's actually a whole goblin tribe that is here. You do see what you're going to assume is women goblins, because you also see tiny baby goblins and children goblins that are running around. From what you can tell, the average cooking fire has about 4 to 5 people sitting at it, which would be about 400 to 500 total individuals, and you would have about half of them, so around 250 combatants. It looks like the curtain wall wraps around for about a half mile, and it connects to the large fortress both on the left-hand side and the right-hand side from where you are. And then it's about a quarter mile between the curtain wall where you are, which is the furthest point away from the keep. All the goblins and all the fires cover that space inside the walls. The keep is still 100% deserted, other than those 2 guards. Even as you watch over the course of doing this for the next hour, there really is nothing that changes. You do see another sad-looking goblin come and trade places with the goblin out front, but they don't even close the door. Like, one person just comes out. You can see the goblin interact with a couple of other goblins through the door, but the main gate is still open. About half the towers are crumbling, but the goblins really don't seem like they're anticipating any attack. It doesn't look like they've built any additional defenses. It doesn't look like there's any traps. You know, the towers are not being effectively reinforced or anything. It really just looks like they're all sitting in between, and they have this lone scout out front, and then whatever lies in the keep beyond.
Do you think we might be able to, well, for lack of a better term, but, knock the dumb one out and take him with us as a means of potentially more information?
I like that idea.
Me too. I vote Nictor to go up and pummel the ever-loving shit out of him very stealthily.
All right. A stealthy knockout coming right up. Give him the old 1-2 good night.
Would you like me to distract him with something? Perhaps lead him down a path?
We should totally do that, because I don't trust any of our abilities right now.
Well, let's see what happens. Point out where you would like him to go. What I'd like to use is maybe my minor illusion to create a yummy-looking sandwich. Yeah, because I can't actually move it that far. A delicious-looking floating sandwich. It has to look really delicious. It has no ability to smell or be heard, but you can see it quite clearly. Yes, a goblin sandwich, please. I'll make it look like it kind of falls out of this tree and rolls onto the ground in front of him.
Ooh, piece of candy.
That is beautiful. I love that.
Yes, exactly. And hopefully he sees it.
What's the check for that?
And the DC to spot it, if it's an illusion or not, is, I believe, 13.
And then I am behind said tree.
So he sees it happens, and you can hear him chitter in his curiosity and wander away from his post over to get close to the sandwich.
Yes.
He basically gets right to the sandwich, so Nick, you would be within, 5-6 feet of him.
Awesome. Well, I'll see if I can give him a quick little knockout punch, if not two, and quickly tie him up with some rope. I can see in the dark, and I can punch really fast.
Metal. I would like to take this time to cast Mage Hand and pick up a stick.
I'll ready a mind sliver as well if this doesn't go well, so that I can just mind sliver him.
We're gonna fuck this dude up.
We're all just ganging up on one guy who just wants a sandwich. So my first roll was a 19. Yeah, my very last roll was 15, so 4 plus 3 is 7 again, and 5, so 7 and 5.
He drops immediately with a thump to the ground, and you can hear him kind of chitter something about sandwich as he drops.
Okay, tie him up quick and put a sock in his mouth. Let's go, boys.
Oh, I apparently have manacles on me, so I'm gonna clap those on his wrists.
I will dispel my sandwich now. Good work, team.
I say we hit the road. Get out of here.
Onwards.
I tell Slime Graham Hook to put a sock in his mouth, because I think he has the smelliest sock.
You guys were doing your own thing, then I was picking some Nightshade begrudgingly. Stupid potions, stupid goblins, and stealth attacks. And I'm just going to have my arms filled with Nightshade, and I'm going to bring them over to Sly to process.
I'd say thank you. I have been picking berries in the bush for the last hour while everything else has been happening.
I'm just going to dump an entire pile in front of your feet. Here.
Thank you!
With a name like Axel, you seem like you're strong enough to carry a goblin.
I can carry a goblin, yes.
Ah, perfect. This was your calling, sir. May you carry this goblin back for us.
I'm so glad I get to be your guys' pack mule. Yay!
Side note, should we poison this lot somehow before walking away? We have a hostage. We could weaken the army before leaving.
Well, we might also create a need for them to bring in more reinforcements or potentially cause a warning to go off. It's best maybe that they do not know that we know they are here.
Ah, gotcha, okay.
I want to flavor this, so as I'm carrying the goblin through the brush, I'm just letting it haphazardly hit against tree branches and, scrape against thorns. I'm like, ugh, come on. Like, he's really, you guys really knocked him out cold. I'm getting no response. Yeah, it's gonna be a long trek.
Did we collect all that nightshade and then just leave it? I feel like we should bring it with us.
I gave it to Sly. He has it.
Oh, okay. Good. Just want to be clear that if we're going to collect deadly poison, that we should at least keep it with us.
So Sly, you can add 1 pound of nightshade leaves.
That's a lot of nightshade.
Axel's very good at picking at nightshade.
Don't lick your fingers.
Can you all make a perception check for me?
Is it based on sight or hearing?
It is based on hearing.
I would like my owl to make one. Oh, dirty 20.
I got a 15.
I got 23 total.
Dirty 19.
3. I didn't see anything.
Okay, so everybody except for Sly, who seems to be distracted by his nightshade, you can hear a chorus of wolf calls that echo through the forest. They don't sound super close, but they do sound like they came from the direction that you guys had just left.
Are wolves normally found in these parts?
Wolves are not normally found in these parts.
Should we quicken our pace?
I think we should. We want to hurry very quietly so that we don't alert wolves.
Double time, Trudy.
I would tuck the goblin like a football under my arm and just kind of take a brisk pace.
It's probably 2, 3 in the morning. The moon is high. The moment you break from the trees to the farmers' fields of Seafall, and you can see Seafall beyond, it's pretty well lit. The moon is not quite full, but it's clearly bright. And you can see the town ahead, and everything is just nice and peaceful and happy. As you get up to the gate, you can see there's a couple of torches in brackets lighting the way to the gate, but the gate is closed and barred when you get there because it's obviously 2, 3 in the morning.
All right, Demeclees, can we get a private audience with Tamir or no at this hour?
What time is it?
Apparently 2 in the morning.
If I know kings, and I know kings, nobles...
I would like an insight check on that. He seems to know a lot of people. And just, no reason, just double check. Oh, it's a 2 on the table.
I am a wizard, I swear. And if I know nobles, and I know nobles, they would prefer not to be woken up at such hours unless, of course, for hedonistic reasons, which I don't believe we have any sort of need for that right now. We'll do this bright and early in the morning.
I start banging on the door, yelling for the king, ignoring everything he just said, and just being as loud as possible.
And one of the little hatches slide open. You can see a face, but it's too close up to see whose face. Hey, what's going on out there?
Down here. I'll point down at me because I'm a gnome and much shorter.
I can't see. And you see him pause and slide it shut, and then you see another one way close to the ground open up, and you can see just someone's shins. What do you want?
Apologies for such a noisy disturbance so late at night, but we do come with very important news for the Tamir.
I acknowledge everything he's saying, and then I just ignore it and just bang louder.
Enough. Who are you?
How much time do you have?
Who am I? I am Demeclees, the future whisperer, the seer of fates, the listener of destiny.
Yeah, it was my destiny to bring a goblin corpse back at 3 in the morning, so here you go.
I grab the goblin corpse and start shoving it through the little hole.
Good grief! It's Saeed, you blithering fools! Why didn't you just say who you were in the first place?
Well, we just did it. It only took a second here. You should have been able to see. As you see, we have an urgent message for the Tamir.
You see him try to close the latch, but he can't because the goblin's nose is in the way. And so he just bangs it a couple of times to try and close it, and then it doesn't work. You see him just give up, and then one of the doors opens quickly, and you can see him poke his head out.
The scouting party, you've returned. Manx, I remember you.
And he taps his leg that's been bandaged.
I cast Healing Word on him. And I say, and the word is, how is that feeling? And he heals 6 points of damage.
His eyes brighten.
I couldn't have had a better evening surprise than the group of you.
And he looks at the goblin questioningly, whose face is stuffed halfway through the hole.
What is this doing here?
This, sir, is the greatest and most powerful thing of all. A source of information.
Saeed shrugs.
We're using the rusty iron tanker just inside as an information center. There are rooms above. Go there. I'll fetch the Tamir from the halls. He'll want to speak with you immediately.
Ah, excellent.
When you enter the pub, there's really nobody in there at this point in time, except you do see Alric, the Master of Coin, and the Tamir's brother, what looked like he would have been in conversation with Saeed as you guys enter, and he's sitting at a table with a flagon of ale.
Hello, Demeclees, Nictor, Axel, Manx, and Mudkip, was it?
Mudvayne.
Mudskip, actually. Yes.
Mudvayne. Ah, sorry. I'll remember. You have returned, and it looks with an additional guest. Please, wait just a moment for the Tamir to be here, and we will get everything you possibly can. Is anything urgent, or shall we discuss in the morning? You look...
And he eyes the whole group, who is muddy, and Sly has a handful of nightshade leaves, like he's been carrying them.
You look like this.
A little woozy.
Are we joining this man for a pint of ale?
We come with loaded information, the urgency of which is up to the Tamir.
Well, in that case, let us have a quick conversation when he arrives. But in the meantime, we've been waiting for you, and I have a gift.
Looks at the table as though he was expecting you, and there are 5 pouches, and he picks each one up and hands them to you.
100 gold pieces apiece for what I hope is very valuable information.
Ah, wonderful.
The Tamir will be here shortly, but in the meantime, please, there is a room on the second hall. It's not a very big tavern, so hopefully you can all stay together. But get yourselves cleaned up, and if you can, get some rest. The Tamir will be here shortly.
Hooray!
Amazing.
Excellent. Did you say all together?
Ah, yes, of course, Demeclees. There's an additional room for you, just one door past.
Ah, excellent. I appreciate that.
So we're all gonna bunk up and Demeclees gets his own room, huh?
I'm so comfortable with that.
Alric is going to take the goblin and undo the manacles and then manacle him to the chair across from him.
And so ends episode 2 of You Rolled a 1, a Professor Epic Productions. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave a review wherever podcasts are downloaded. If you'd like to talk to the players or have other comments or suggestions, get in contact with us on Facebook, Instagram, or Discord. Thanks again for listening, and remember, licking an ice cream cone so hard that it knocks the ice cream onto the ground is real life rolling a 1.